Flyers superstar prospect Matvei Michkov has always had the talent, but the biggest concerns when it came to him were how he was going to get deployed in the KHL and how his KHL contract might look. And so far, early into the KHL season, everything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong for Matvei Michkov, and specifically for the Flyers, it is some disastrous news for them. We're going to be breaking down with Matvei Michkov what's gone wrong since his draft, what's happened in the KHL with him, and what might happen in the future with him and the Philadelphia Flyers. Make sure you watch till the end for all of that, and hit that subscribe button if you're new for more hockey prospect content just like this all throughout the year. Y'all won't want to miss a thing. Matvei Michkov's situation last year was already in a weird position, having to be loaned from SKA to HK Sochi, where he played amazingly there, but his main team in SKA really didn't give him much of an opportunity, and he really didn't look great in the KHL games he played. After being loaned to Sochi, he's now back with SKA this last year, and initially it looked pretty great. Here's the thing, in the preseason for SKA and the KHL, Matvei Michkov looked incredible. In 4 games, he got 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points, 40 shifts, got 10 shots on goal, and looked like one of the SKA's best players. And for a team as good as SKA, that is a great sign. And his dominance in the preseason really did look to preview the rest of his KHL year. If he dominated after his draft and had a great role in SKA, then a lot of those concerns would kind of be over. But those worries became even bigger after we see how SKA has treated him. Now, heading into the season opener for SKA St. Petersburg, Cam Robinson broke it down here. SKA is kicking off their KHL season today. Matvei Michkov is a healthy scratch, and Ivan Demidov, 2024 draft prospect, is the 13th forward. Development at its finest. Also goes on to say 828 with 1 shot on goal for Demidov. That's not too shabby right there. But the fact that Matvei Michkov, so dominant in the preseason, so good, so consistently good every single shift, is a healthy scratch. I guarantee there are worse players that they played that game than Matvei Michkov. And already some of these worrying signs are starting to show. But here's the weird thing for me. Even though I love Ivan Demidov, and we'll get into a little bit later how Demidov has gotten even bigger opportunities than Matvei Michkov, I don't really see why you'd play Demidov instead of Michkov, especially with how good Michkov was in the preseason, how consistent he has been for them. Unless there was an axe to grind there against Michkov, clear targeting, I don't really see why they'd scratch him for any purpose. I mean, we talk about the KHL. Obviously, it's not a development league. First and foremost, it's not that these teams are playing to win first and foremost. That's every single head coaching decision out there, especially the KHL. But I think, especially for SKA, playing Matvei Michkov was more likely to win them games. They would eventually win this game 2-1, but at the same time, it's just a clear targeting in my opinion, because with Michkov, playing him would win you more games. He's a better option on that middle six than a lot of other players on that team, and to me, we talk about it not being a development league. That's okay. That's fine. You play the best players, Michkov should be on the ice. But I mean, it just goes to show that he was much better in HK Sochi. It doesn't surprise me with the way that SK is handling him. I mean, you have this superstar in your hands that is going to be elite in the KHL if he does play, if he is playing every single night. Sure, I could see not playing him as a center in the regular season immediately, even though he got a taste of that in the preseason. But put him on the wing, put him on the third line, get him like a tiny bit of power play time, do something with him. I mean, this is a player that it could be a generational type of player for a team in the KHL. Sochi was able to use the most out of him, and he completely revived their offense last season. For SK, it just seems like throughout this entire process, they've been inept at developing him, and that's continued year through year. Sochi had it right. I mean, obviously a much worse team than SKA. They really had no other option but to play Matvei Michkov all the minutes, but you don't have to give him first line minutes, just give him something. I mean, that's Matvei Michkov we're talking about. He is more talented than every player in that team. Let's be real. And then we go on to the second game for SK in the regular season, and let's look at where Matvei Michkov is, and he's just not there. He's just not there. This tweet from Jimmy Basco is saying, Matvei Michkov will be a healthy scratch for the second straight game. The KHL continues to be a frustrating league development-wise. And the funny thing is now we actually get a look at the lines here and what they're looking like for SK, and it's crazy. You got Alex Galchenyuk, first line center, which is just hilarious, playing Galchenyuk in that spot. But also, it's interesting, you look at Ivan Demidov too, and what they're rolling out with him, with, of course, being a 2024 draft prospect. He hasn't been drafted yet, unlike Matvei Michkov. He's playing on that third line. He's right here, right below, if you don't see him already. Ivan Demidov, though, has proved so many great things. I love the heck out of him. He should also be playing, not to the expense of Matvei Michkov, though. That, to me, is crazy. But Demidov is an unreal player. Seeing him this high in the lineup already is amazing to see, but also I'm just not sure how much stock I put into it. SKA just seems like a weird team with the players they play. It seems like for reasons, one way or the other, Michkov just seems like he's in the doghouse right now. Now, it's also crazy when you look at the players that are getting played instead of Matvei Michkov. You look on that fourth line, pay attention to 68 and 25 here. Those players are Sviatoslav Grebenishnikov and Pavel Dudinov. Now, when we look at Grebenishnikov, he got 7 points in 19 KHL games for SKA last year, 0 points in 12 games for Admiral, and then you look at Pavel Dudinov, and he got 6 points in 67 games last year. These are the players that are being played instead of Matvei Michkov. I mean, I understand fourth lines, you know, you want to have different players there, but at a certain point, come the heck on. Now, I'm just saying it's super interesting to me that Roman Rontenberg, the head coach of SKA, is the son of an ally of Vladimir Putin. I mean, just saying, it's kind of interesting. Also, this article is saying that he landed a top KHL spot despite no ice hockey coaching experience, and that's actually true. When we look at Roman Rontenberg, he has been a vice president, just somebody in the SK organization for a long time, had no actual coaching experience, and then he just becomes the head coach for SK St. Petersburg out of nowhere. We probably know why. But this is the person that's in charge of making decisions for this SK St. Petersburg team. He's, of course, a coach now for the Russia national team and everything. I mean, it's pretty crazy to see. Just out of nowhere, he just becomes a head coach. I mean, this is the player that's supposed to be determining the entire development of Matvei Michkov. That's kind of rough. But this is pretty much to a T what SKA, what the KHL is like, man. It's just... There's so much venom inside of it. It's so corrupt, and you see a person like this just becoming a head coach of the best team in the KHL out of nowhere, just for reasons that will be unknown. But of course, he now is in the position to completely decide Matvei Michkov's future, and we've seen how so far it's gone completely in shambles. Now, obviously, we're only 2 games in. I expect Matvei Michkov to eventually come back into the lineup. But, I mean, you have players like Arseny Gritsuk who aren't even playing because they're injured, and he's going to be factoring into the lineup too. So, even when Michkov does get back, I don't know how much room there will be for him. And, of course, when we talk about the Habs and them putting him over putting David Reinbacher over Matvei Michkov, drafting him 5th overall, and wanting to have more control over the development path. I mean, it comes into situations like this, where with Matvei Michkov, you don't have a lot of control, especially what happens in the KHL, especially what happens with SKA. As you can probably tell, there's only so much influence that these North American teams have, and the way that Michkov's development has been handled so far has just been rotten, honestly. And it's so sad to see, man, because this is an exceptional player we are talking about. As much as I'm happy for Ivan Demidov getting those third line minutes, you know, rocking it in that top 9, Michkov deserves to be on that first line for how good he can be, for how electric he can be. I mean, again, with Sochi, he was a dominant player, 20 points in 27 KHL games. You see what he was able to do in the KHL with SK last year, 3 games, 0 points, didn't get a lot of opportunity there. This last year, he's not even playing now, where he should be an everyday player, should be an everyday top 9 player. This is an electric player who can do everything on the ice offensively, and the fact that they're not playing him, it's just huge warning signs. I think eventually Michkov will get over that hump and will get more playing time. I think they're just kind of being weird of him and trying to prove a point or something. I'm not really sure. I do think it will get better, but it's not looking good right now. 2 straight healthy scratches in the KHL. This isn't a point about talent, because we all know Michkov should be playing in the regular. Everybody that's watched him should say that and should know that, but it's just how weird the KHL is right now, and that story about the KHL being a problem in development has come to fruition so far. I don't think it's disastrous for Michkov. Worst comes to worst, you'll be like an everyday player eventually, and then we'll come over where the Flyers can truly develop him. But I do think it will get better slightly. It's just a weird situation where he's proved himself in the regular season last year, proved himself in preseason this last season with SK2, but it just hasn't happened yet. We'll see what happens. I don't know if it's quite the red alarm that a lot of people are saying right now, but it's not looking great for Matvei Michkov in the KHL this season. Something desperately needs to change here. Let us know in the comments down below, though. What do you guys think of Matvei Michkov's situation in the KHL? Do you think it's red alert? Do you think it's disastrous? Do you think that he'll eventually get playing time? Let us know down below. And what do you think of now his stock with the Flyers and what happens next in the KHL over these next few years? Of course, make sure that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that notification bell if you haven't already, and share the video with all the hockey fans, all the Flyers, Habs fans, all the draft fans you guys know online, and click on this card for all of my 2023 draft content right in one playlist. My name is Nathan, and I hope you have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.